Here's Everyway Woman.
Welcome back to Everyway Woman. Now, we are a nation of litigation, but our next guest, Kim Adams, has a nonprofit organization helping folks choose mediation over court to settle their disputes. Thanks for being here, Kim.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So tell us, what is mediation?
Mediation is a form of alternative dispute resolution where the parties agree to mediation. It's all voluntary. And once they pick a mediator, then the mediator, they all come in different makes, models, and styles. And some mediators will start when they have a session scheduled to help to resolve the dispute. They'll start a session. Some of them start in joint, where they have the parties with the mediator. They call them joint session. We're in the same room.
Now, is the mediator like a judge in a typical courtroom?
No, the mediator is a non-biased neutral. So to
Okay.
neutral, they're trained mediators who are basically there to help the parties negotiate their own settlement agreement. So they're not there to make a decision or a award or a judgment. They're there to help the parties reach an agreement together.
Oh, it seems like it's a lot more personal that way.
It is,
And
yes.
it's confidential. No one ever
Yes.
knows what goes on in that room.
Exactly, yes.
And it's much more affordable than court is.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
expensive to get to court.
It's-
now,
yeah.
what kinds of cases do you do? Do you do, is it like more neighbor fence disputes? Is it divorce? What do you have?
We do any kind of dispute that's out there. Community, neighbor, civil, car accidents.
Lemon law?
Lemon law, there you go. Yeah, divorce, small claims. And one good thing about when they're working together to help to make a resolution, their own agreement, the chances that the party's going to actually get paid is a lot higher.
Absolutely.
Especially like in small claims court. If someone gets an award in small claims court and the judge says, okay, you're awarded $7,000, it's just a piece of paper. They're just chasing the piece of paper. Where they're with the other side and they can agree and negotiate, okay, then this is what I do owe, the chances are they're going to get paid.
Now, if you do mediation and you don't like the results of your mediation, can you go to court, or how does that
Yeah, I
work?
mean, you must have a lot of divorce cases where you're like, I can't do this. I can't help
yeah.
you here.
Oh
She
my
has
God.
a very good rate of settling.
Yeah, we do. We have a high rate of settling. However, though, mediation is considered non-binding. So it's non-binding until the parties actually reach an agreement. Once they reach an agreement, then that becomes a binding, enforceable agreement that could be used if you had to enforce it. For instance, if they didn't, if they breached it, then you could file a motion, and then that could be enforced in the court of law.
So what makes it binding? You just sign it?
Exactly.
And you're
Signing
the
the-
witness?
It's like a contract.
It's a contract, exactly.
Okay.
Once you sign it, it becomes binding. And everything, like Charlotte was saying, everything that's said in mediation is confidential. So let's say that the mediation doesn't settle, so there's nothing signed, so it's a non-binding, and they end up going away and they go to trial, for instance. They can't say, well, in mediation, he said or she said. You can't bring up anything.
Now, is the
Wow.
process
Yeah,
quicker
exactly.
in mediation than it is in trial? Because I know some of these trials drag on and on.
Yes, they do. It is a lot quicker, yeah. In most cases, like the civil cases, they can usually get settled like in half-day mediation. But in divorce cases, usually have 2 or 3 sessions because you're talking children, property.
How
parenting,
long's the
parenting.
session?
Most sessions average about 2 to 4 hours.
Do you find you almost have to be a therapist versus a mediator for a lot of these cases?
definitely therapy,
You
I think.
definitely
And you're
do.
like,
You have to
there's
be
no
really
dispute,
strong.
there's nothing to settle, you just need to calm down and you need to calm down and
Yeah,
have
that's
some
usually-
chocolate cake.
Exactly, yeah, and that's usually the divorce ones. The emotions, a lot of emotion. Just got to let them, and that's one thing about the mediation is they have a voice, so you've got to let them talk and get it out. And I think of it because when I love horses and I ride horses, and if you ever rode a horse, what are those times a horse is going to get tired. You're going to get on a hot horse, it's going to be crazy and da-da-da-da, but then the horse is going to calm down. So I look at it that way. I just let them go and go and go and go, and I know they're just going to calm down, the emotions
So
settle.
do they speak for themselves, or are there lawyers involved in this?
It depends. It could go both ways. If they're represented, their attorneys would be at the mediation as well. And in those cases, the attorneys are usually the ones that are doing more of the directing everything. But if you don't have an attorney, then you're there. You're speaking on, just telling your story. This is what
So
I
how
want.
does it work? They go in separate rooms? And
Yes, most mediators will split the parties into separate rooms. They call it caucus. And so then what the mediator does, and he'll go in and talk to one party in one room, and then depending on what's said in there, then the mediator sometimes will have to do some reframing, we call it, and then the mediator will go into the other room and say, okay, well, this is what's going on in the case, and based on what they're saying, so they'll kind of reframe and go that direction.
So is mediation only for cases where there's a property settlement going to be, or can they be for criminals?
Anything.
Oh, so
yeah.
a criminal case.
Well,
not
not
criminal
criminal
case,
not so much.
fraud,
Yeah.
involved.
Not so much. We do victim offender, where we're working on helping with the disputes, the youth that have caused some offenses, working with the district attorney's office and getting the victim and the offender together.
And what's your organization called?
Our organization is Centers for Effective Dispute Resolution.
And it's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit.
So it's very affordable for
Very-
people.
Yes, very affordable. We're formerly IVJC, which is Inland Valleys Justice Center, but we're in the process of changing our name, and it is very affordable.
How did you get involved with mediation?
Oh my goodness, that's a good story. I basically got involved, I became a legal document assistant, being divorced young with children, seeing how the system worked, very unfair, having an attorney, spending lots of money, then finally ended up I found a paralegal to help me. And then my husband and I came to our senses, and we actually reached an agreement ourselves, and I never realized that that was actually mediation.
Oh, we could actually get along.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
adults hate each other.
Yeah, we can adults and civil, especially when you're, a divorcing couple, you have to set an example for your children. So actually being in the system, and then I became a legal document assistant. I opened up my own business 15 years ago, and I've been working with parties for the last 15 years, just from probates to divorce to name changes, just do their whole legal paperwork without an attorney if they can't afford one. And so and then realizing that, wow, I'm actually mediating, helping these divorcing couples. So in 2008, when I realized that I was actually mediating, I thought, wow, maybe I should get a certificate for this, and that way I can keep it separate. So now I have my LDA business, and then my mediation, and I also work for in Cedars, and run a whole panel of attorney mediators, and that people.
What do you enjoy about it?
It's just helping people. It's just a service business, and just knowing that that person, when they walk in that room or our office, and you know what they're feeling, they're confused, and when they walk out, to see a smile on their face. And a lot of times my clients will leave with a hug. I hug everybody. I think that's so important. Charlotte knows that. Everybody. I am a hugger. Yeah. And just seeing, and just seeing the smiles on their face when they leave, and that's why I do
And
it.
then the client, they feel like a person instead of just being a
Yes.
number, just being
Right.
a case number.
Exactly.
The
yeah.
stress is just gone, and they no longer have to
Exactly.
deal with the legal issue. It's all resolved.
Have you ever had
Exactly.
people though when they first walk in where you're like, oh no, this isn't going to go anywhere, and then you just had something where you were able to help bring them together? Or do you have a lot of that?
Oh yeah, you just work that mediation magic, definitely. Yeah.
Creativity too,
Yeah.
to come up with things. I'm sure
You
for
do,
you.
yeah. You have to be really creative, and as a mediator, you should never ever give up on your parties. I am the last person to give up. I've had situations where clients, they've given up on themselves, especially husbands. Oh, fine, we're just going back to court, and I'll usually tell them, okay, is that really where you want to be? Why don't you go find the family law session court and just go sit in it, and that's probably going to be the judge where you're going to be through. If your case is there, but this time you're not going to be a number. You're just going to be observing, and you come back in about a week and you tell me if that's really where you want to be, and if that's where you want to be, then I'll say this mediation can't go any further. And I've never had one person come back and say that's where I
Well,
want to be.
Kim Adams, thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're
This
welcome.
is exactly where we wanted you to be. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for your service too. For
You can
helping.
find us on everywaywoman.com, and you can also see us on our YouTube channel. Thank you for being here with Everyway Woman.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Everyway Woman.
Welcome back to Everyway Woman. Our next guest, Jen Jones-Donatelli, wants everyone to find their creative groove. Thanks for being here, Jen.
You are so welcome.
Well, so tell us, you have this company called Creative Groove. Tell us what it's all about.
So it's basically an online education hub where we offer classes in an array of creative topics, from mom blogging to social media to freelance writing to photography. And the idea is that the classes are taught by working professionals in the field. So you're getting the juiciest information out there for the field that you're hoping to go into. And they're also designed to be very affordable and interactive. So we have video, live chat, PowerPoint, screen sharing, pretty much everything you could want, or at least that's the goal anyway.
How did you come up with this idea?
Well, it was kind of a long journey, but I worked in film and television for about 7 years, and my degree was actually in magazine journalism. So when the last show I was working on got canceled, I happened to have some side writing work going on, and
What were you writing?
I was writing for an array of magazines.
What do you mean an array?
Jane of all trades, I tell you.
You know, I'll tell you, I was a cheerleader all growing up.
Okay.
And while I was working in film and television, I got approached by this cheerleading magazine to start writing for them. And it happened to be a publishing house that owned about 10 other magazines. So as time went on, I started writing for all their other magazines, and suddenly I had this kind of thriving freelance writing business going on the side of what I was doing in TV. So anyway, once that show got canceled, I kind of just became a full-time freelance writer, and 7 years later, I'm still doing that full-time. So I started teaching freelance writing as a result of that. And I just got this idea that there's probably a lot of people who might like to leave their full-time job and pursue their creative area of interest. So Creative Groove is basically designed to help people tap into those creative interests and see if it might be a plausible career path for
How
them.
does it do that?
Well,
How
we
do you
have
get them to tap in?
well, for instance, we have a class on wedding photography, and we get a lot of people who maybe went to a wedding as a favor to a friend, and
could
took
do that.
pictures and realized that they really have a knack for it.
So kind of making a career out of a hobby or a
Exactly,
passion.
exactly. Or like maybe your Etsy shop, maybe you want to do more with that. Or for instance, I get a lot of people who are doing a little bit of freelance writing and they want to know if they can jump in and do it full time. So it's basically their way of just building their knowledge set and becoming more qualified to make a career out of it.
Now, with these classes, are some of the classes online? Are they at a brick and mortar shop? How are the classes?
So how are they interactive as far as the person talks, and then do you like send them messages, or is it through Skype, or how does it work?
Well, every single class is online.
Okay.
And the way that they're interactive is you basically enter this virtual classroom and there's a live session. And you see the teacher talking in the corner and you have the opportunity to do live chat. So if you have a question, you can jump in there and the teacher will answer it in real time. And then the teacher's kind of walking you through this PowerPoint presentation. So they're showing you visuals that go with whatever it is that they happen to be talking about. And then we also have the capability to do screen sharing. So say we're doing a Photoshop demonstration, the teacher can share their screen, walk you right through how to airbrush yourself to be 10 pounds thinner.
Wow,
And, it's
we should
great.
all take that class, ladies.
And then we also record the classes. So if you can't make it at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, you can watch it anytime.
And that's been the great
great.
thing for me as a mom, because I've taken one of Jen's classes. I took a photography class. It was more as a hobby, but it was so interactive. It kept me engaged. There's homework afterwards, and you share with the teacher. And she was also on Facebook, grading the pictures. But the class was the class was during when I usually feed my son, and so I would be watching it, but I couldn't always be fully engaged. But I could go back and then look at the recording.
How long are the sessions?
Yeah, how long?
They're about an hour.
So, I mean,
Once a week?
But you just
Once
do
a week,
one, or is
yes.
it like a 6-week course, or how does that work?
Everyone is different. Most of our classes are between 4 and 6 weeks. For instance, I teach a freelance writing class that's 6 weeks, but we do have one-off seminars, and those are usually 3 hours. So for that, it's more beneficial usually to watch the recording because not everyone has 3-hour chunks.
That's something, too, a person can add to their resume because
Exactly.
it's a training course.
That's
and,
true.
And you can write it off on your taxes,
Exactly.
too.
And at some point, I'd like to have a certificate program, that could give people more for their investment and also for their resume.
Well, speaking of taxes and the business end of it, how scary was it for you to go from, freelancing and having someone else send you the checks to starting up your own business?
Well, I feel like I was kind of in the position that a lot of people are today because I was almost thrust into it. The show I was working on was canceled, and for me, I thought it would be more of a bridge type of thing, like, oh, I'll do this until the next thing, and then it turned into a career.
It's the next thing.
Surprise!
But it is very challenging. It's a 24/7 endeavor. If you're not working, you're networking. So if you're someone that likes to leave your work at the office at 5 o'clock and forget about it, being a solopreneur is not really for you. And also, it's very unpredictable. You have no set income. You have to find your own benefits. So,
But what's good about it? What are the pros?
well, you can make your own schedule, and I like to say you're the master of your own destiny. So I like to call it unlimited income potential. So
That's beautiful.
You do take a pay cut normally when you start your own business. The sky is the limit, basically. You don't have that set parameter of what you're going to make. So, and I personally enjoy the freedom of it. Getting
And
to
you're
make
really
my own
helping
schedule.
people. I mean, a lot of
And
people,
helping
you're
people,
changing their
yes.
lives.
Like,
Because
guys, you
it's so
seem
good, 'cause
happy.
that's the problem with a lot of solopreneurs is you don't know where to turn. And now you have a way for them to find out all the information.
Do you have a class on how to be a solopreneur?
I was sitting here preparing for this segment, and I realized that would really be a great class. So I've been inspired.
Well, tell us about, we've put out the word solopreneur, and people are like, well, what is that? What's she talking about? Tell us about being a solopreneur. What is that?
Right. It's a little bit of a buzzword, but it's basically just a self-contained business owned and operated by you, yourself, and you. So you're basically the sole employee, and you see it a lot in creative fields. Like I said before, people with their Etsy shop or who run their own photography business, maybe a copywriter who works with different corporate clients. So that's what a solopreneur
mistake
is.
do you think most solopreneurs make so that they're not successful?
Well, and not to plug Creative Groove, but I feel like some people might jump in too quickly without really preparing themselves and determining whether this is feasible for them. So the idea of taking a class in your area of interest from a working professional, you can kind of see how they did it, get their tips, and see if it might be for you. So diving in too quickly might be one mistake. The other is just not preparing as well as you could, because like I said, it is a big shift, and you have to know the challenges and rewards of it. So I would recommend talking to people who do it, finding out if it's for you, and maybe taking a class with us.
All right, well, check it out at Creative Groove. Is it creativegroove.com?
Creativegroove.com.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about this, Jen.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, we'll be right back with Every Way Woman. Thanks for joining us.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Every Way Woman.
Welcome back to Every Way Woman, and we're going to be talking about women in the media. I don't know, ladies, if you've seen the interview with Rihanna, with Oprah, talking about, we all know her situation with Chris Brown and that incident that they had. But now she went on Oprah talking about how she feels sorry for Chris Brown. I mean, is she just setting it back for battered women out there?
Yes, she is. And she's also, though, I think she's got like a Stockholm syndrome. I think she's a typical abused woman, and she's depressed. And, people who get abused, they always somehow feel for their abusers. So,
well, it might be also the function of distance and time, because I think that was about 4 years ago. So maybe she's gotten to a good place and is focusing on forgiveness.
It seems like they've gotten to a good place because they're seeing each other.
You should never be with somebody that hits you. Never, ever. You can never get over that.
Do you think in relationships, though, that there are ever times when, things get heated, emotions are running high, and things just happen?
And he beats you till you
get
blue in the face
but
and
he's a young guy. He didn't know how to control his emotions. Maybe he's a whole new character.
Everybody's a young.
That's
all men
experienced.
start off young and they don't beat their women, and he beat her badly. No. And I can't believe how well his album
it's
did
actually
after
illegal
he beat
to
her.
do this also.
Right.
I mean, it's not just, gee, I don't like it. It's illegal.
Well, he feels like, I put in my time, now I'm coming back, I've got my new album, but the thing is, he's got another girlfriend, from what I hear, right? So, they're back together kissing on some yacht, and
But it's
he's
their
got another
relationship,
girlfriend.
and honestly, it's their business. And I mean, I wouldn't want to be with somebody who beat me, but it's her choice.
But
and
it's
I
not.
feel she should have that decision.
It's not up to us to judge a person on his worst mistakes either. We have to kind of forgive and move on, but it doesn't mean it's okay.
But she makes it our business by doing an interview with Oprah, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Right. And then there's the idea that women like Miley Cyrus and Rihanna are role models for teen girls, and some people think they have a responsibility to set an example, and other people think, oh, that's their personal life and they can say what they want. So there's
It's going to be discussed anyway. So maybe by going on Oprah, she's able to set the tone and say what she wants to say and couch it in the way she wants to couch it. Otherwise, it's just going to be willy-nilly, whatever the press decide to print.
And I do think she kind of has already spoke about it in that Eminem song, "Love the Way You Lie." I mean, she was in a domestic abusive relationship in that song, and that spoke a lot of her situation, I think.
It's just bad because then when young girls see her getting beat up and then they're getting beat up, they say, oh, well, see, Rihanna and Chris got back together.
It was
he
true.
changed. And it's a horrible example for us to have out there because there are so many young girls and grown women, too, getting abused by men.
Well, and the thing is, too, she talked about in the interview that, I wasn't able to process all of this with the media attention and things like that. Have any of us heard from Demi Moore, since her incident? No, she kind of went away, has done her own thing. Everyone wants to interview her. Everyone wants to find out what happened, and she's staying quiet. Maybe that's a lesson learned for a lot of celebrities.
Well, that's also very fresh, too. I think she needs some time. Maybe next year she'll start talking about it.
And she didn't get beat,
But
so that's still different.
no, it's true. But if you don't want the media to be in your business, then don't talk to the media and step away. But to always be putting your information out there and then saying, well, I couldn't process it because media was involved. I don't know. Well, we'll continue talking about this. I know Rihanna is going to give us lots more to talk about. Thanks for being here with Every Way Woman. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for watching Every Way Woman.